Let's welcome to the CJU stage, LEILANI Han, CJ's Director of Publisher Business Development.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to see all of you here, especially since I know I saw some of you guys last night at the Funk Zone. My name is LEILANI Han, in case you weren't just paying attention. And we're going to be talking about commerce content in affiliate, an insider's view. So, since I have been on the publisher development team for the last year and a half or so, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different publisher models. And one of the most exciting trends that we've seen emerge is commerce content being driven by some of the largest media publishers today. Now, some of you might be wondering, what exactly is commerce content? And that's a great question. Simply put, it's information and recommendations being made around products and services that a publisher feels is relevant to their audience. For example, raise your hand if you've seen this pop up on your Facebook video. Okay. How many of you actually bought it? Jenny Gibson. Breton, we're saving the world, one wine tote bag at a time. So, why are we so excited about this? Fun fact. Before I actually defected to the publisher development team, I actually managed key accounts on the advertiser side. And my clients would always ask me, LEILANI, how do I drive new customers in my program? How can I increase cart value? How can I diversify my publisher base? So on and so forth. We know that all of you have multiple goals and challenges, but at the same time we know that you're increasingly competitive marketplaces and that you're all fighting to retain and gain market share. We know that these publishers are sitting at this very critical point in which they're driving product discovery. As such, 5 years ago, CJ decided to double down on our investment in content, and we created the Content Certified Network. And we've seen tremendous year-on-year growth since its inception. But what's really exciting, so as I was getting ready for this panel, Jenny Gibson, who, by the way, is doing an encore performance of her ACI presentation tomorrow in case you missed it, was kind enough to provide me with some data around this specific set of publishers. And what our ACI data is showing is that half of the customers being driven by these publishers are new to file, which is really exciting. We know that this is a really important opportunity for you guys. We think that there's huge opportunity for you, but it's really important to consider that these publishers have a very unique set of needs and nuances. So we brought these subject matter experts here today to share with you and give you an insider's view into how they're making commerce content work, give a little bit of context around their needs and nuances, and provide recommendations on how you can gain traction with their editors and readers. Please join me in welcoming our panelists.
Hey everyone. Bryce WIDELITZ. I'm the Director of Business Development at CNN, but I've always been in business development and digital roles, diversifying revenue streams and bringing in new revenue to the company. So how we got into commerce, I first started CNN about 4 years ago, and it was in a role to manage our partnerships and to create an invite-only pay-per-click program for premium partners. And so what we did was we have a massive audience, 100 million uniques or so across CNN, and we put up different placements, so either on a PPC or rev share basis. And what we found was we were sending lots of traffic off-site and immediately becoming partners' #1 source of referrals. But not only were we driving traffic off the site, but they were converting at an extremely high rate. So if we were sending to a gallery, they'd consume 25 page views out of 30 page views. They would fill out a form. They would buy things. And so it really made the case like, wow, we have something here. And so I dug a little bit deeper into the data. And in last Q4, we did a partnership with an affiliate platform and tested to see, we've seen 500,000 or so clicks going off to retail and advertiser sites. Well, what was happening was we didn't know what was happening after the click. So we did this partnership with an affiliate platform, and we were able to see that our users were actually converting at a 14% conversion rate. We did several $1 million in gross sales, and we said this is something we really need to go after, so we set a dedicated team, and we're going after commerce, and so that's why we're here today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Linda. I'm the Director of Business Development at the Wirecutter, now part of the New York Times. We were acquired last October. I've been in the space for the last 5 years. I started on the advertiser side, actually in information services and in subscription services, and then moved over to the Wirecutter about a year and a half ago to really build out their partnerships on the affiliate side of things, and then also look for creative ways to monetize the site that are a little bit outside of traditional affiliate. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Wirecutter, we are a product review site, and we specialize in the electronics, home, and outdoors verticals primarily. Little history on it, Brian Lamb was the founder. He worked at Gizmodo. Does anyone remember the iPhone 4 scandal where Steve Jobs got his phone hijacked? Yeah, that was Brian. Held his phone for ransom, but he worked at Gizmodo, and he was just churning out content, as a lot of these media publishers will do, to just get page views for ads. And finally just kind of got fed up, and he quit his job, sold his car, couch surfed, and was like, I want to start something that's really, really this service utility. It's going to be helpful for people. I want to help people cut through all the noise and just be on to be shopping, because shopping kind of sucks. So he started the Wirecutter, which is his own little pet blog, and it's now this really, really, really exciting company. We get about 5 million uniques a month, but the way that we kind of develop content, it's really, really, really great readers. They trust us. They really love the content, and then they're off to great people like you to close that sale. So, yeah.
I'm BRETON FISCHETTI at Business Insider and Insider, which produced the video you saw earlier. I've been at the company for almost 6 years, similar to BRYCE, working on new business models for publishers. 3 years ago, we decided to invest in creating a team to produce content specifically about products. We saw that this stuff was happening organically in other areas of our site, and decided to do it specifically with a editorial team focused just on products and services for our readers. We started that 3 years ago, and since then we've grown to 2.5 million uniques. I think last month it was actually a little higher. And continuing to target really, really high growth. We grew 100% from 15 to 16. I hope that happens again this year.
Thanks so much. So just to provide a little bit of more insight to everybody here today, like a little bit more specifically, why did your companies decide to really invest these resources in commerce content and affiliate? I can take that one. So for us, part of it was kind of a happy accident. I mean, Brian's focus really was to be this mission and this utility for people, and affiliate was this very, very natural and organic way to serve a product to someone without it feeling really, really yucky and slimy. So, as we sit there, like Wirecutter, as we talk about product reviews, we're writing very, very long form, in-depth content around it, and it's just like a very, very natural way for people to discover, and then obviously for us to monetize. Mm-hmm.
And for us, it was a natural extension of what we were already doing. We saw that we see ourselves as an information source for our audience, and our audience is interested in products, so let's just present them with this information. We have a skill set about telling great stories. They can be political stories, they can be tech stories, they can be stories about products and shopping. So we just decided to lean into that particular vertical.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it was really the test that we did in Q4 and the desire from our audience to not only click on this content, but then they were actually converting. And since we're always looking at new ways to monetize and bring in new revenue streams, it was a match. And we ran out of our partnership placements. My manager calls it a champagne problem. And so we needed to basically find new ways to grow revenue and grow our audience. So that's why we went after it.
Okay, so what I'm really hearing you guys say that it was really about providing value and service to your readers, and then affiliate just kind of had this infrastructure already in place for it. Mm-hmm. And then just to clarify a little bit, commerce content is different from sponsored content, right? Mm-hmm. And then how are you guys treating this? Like, how did you decide, for example, Linda, for your company to really just focus on the commerce side, and how do you guys come up with your strategies around what model you're going to pursue? Yeah, so yeah, it's a great point. I mean, commerce content and sponsored content are very different in that I think we're all up here. We all, our editorial teams are producing this content independently, which is, ultimately empowering trust in the readers. It's authentic. It's not something, it's not a sponsored post, which we've all seen, shopping around online or reading online. So it's a very different reader, and that can sometimes be a harder thing for people to grasp when they kind of look at this new commerce model. But for us, staying true to the core of what we do, which is develop authentic content, develop it independently. That's what's going to ultimately deliver the best consumer to our advertisers.
We always want to put our audience first. Like, we are accountable to them. So, like Linda said, it's built on the trust of our readers. Like, this program doesn't succeed unless we put them first. But it certainly doesn't hurt that you can generate revenue from this when done correctly. So, our editorial team operates completely independently, and anything we feature has got to pass their tests, whether we do a hands-on review or if it's somebody we've been working with for a while or a brand that makes products we know already and trust. It's fundamentally about making sure that the reader who comes to the story is happy with the content that they see. They don't feel like we wasted their time when they read it. And if they bothered to click through and transact, that's even more important. They've trusted us enough to open up their wallet. So if they have a negative experience at any point, they're far less likely to trust us the next time and the time after that. And that just doesn't suit our vision, because we as a company want to be around for a while.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Bryce, I know that you guys are planning to have a mix. How do you make that call between what's going to be, appropriate for sponsored?
Yeah, so we haven't launched yet, but we're about a month and a half or so away. And so our plan is basically to roll out, traditional commerce and then follow it up with sponsored posts and sponsored content. But how we're going to need to do that is we came up with an editorial mantra, if you will, of the 3 R's. So research, reputation, and recommendation. So we want to do the research so that we know which products have the best reputation so that we can make the recommendation. So regardless of its just normal organic commerce content or affiliate content or sponsored content, we still need to follow by our 3 R's. So it's basically, we're going to drive our sponsored content based on what we know the data is showing. So we're not going to do something that doesn't work with the audience. And so once we know the data, what it's showing us from our organic content, we're going to go after that with specific sponsors in mind and produce really engaging and intriguing packages for our advertisers.
Okay. So knowing that content is a service that you're providing to your readers and there's an obligation there, what should advertisers be bearing in mind when they're trying to work with you?
I can go. So I think something for us, again, speaking to the data point, is that we really want, we're not, and Linda's going to speak to it, but we're not, touching the products and services for 40 hours a week or so, but we're also not just scraping the internet and putting it up. So we really like unbiased third-party reviews. So if there's studies, tests, use cases that maybe haven't been written by you and by someone else, but also they could be backed up by you as well. So again, it speaks to our 3 R's of research, reputation, and recommendation, and giving us as much data as we can to say why we're recommending your product or service versus another one, because we want to make sure that we're telling the right story and not getting the user upset with us.
Yeah, I think for us, really for us being such a mission-focused company, it breaks our heart a little bit when we send somebody off to an advertiser and for whatever reason, they weren't ready to buy. There's lots of reasons for that, absolutely, but I think really, it's helpful for us if we have partners that are really working to help optimize on their side of things, whether that's through the checkout flow or some sort of a co-branded landing page. Ones that are really, really open to that kind of collaboration are some of our best partners.
Yeah, I think what we look for just foundationally is a product that's going to be a fit for our audience. We have a very wide-reaching group of readers every month, but they do sort of fit into like certain people index higher versus others. Like, we're slightly more male, we're slightly younger. just keeping in mind that consideration set makes sense because it's an uphill battle for us to talk about a product that most of the people who read us aren't going to be interested in. And I think also like having a nice mobile experience is great because we get a lot of traffic from phones versus desktop. Generally what we want to have is a quality product with a seamless experience so that people can just, it feels like a natural extension to go from our site to the retailer site to the checkout page.
And Breton, I remember you saying that it's, it seems kind of simple, but there are a fair amount of people who have come to you and have clearly not done their research. And I feel that, if you spend any given amount of time on any of their sites, it becomes pretty clear what their audience is interested in. So I think that's something to also bear in mind, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as a retailer, you probably have some information or can make some guesses about your target market. If it aligns with a section of our site or you've seen similar content, that's a good way to start. And that's not to say we don't look at things outside those categories because we do have such a large audience, but it's a little bit more of a challenge to find the right ways to present that if it is a good fit.
So if somebody feels that they're a good fit and maybe it's not a clear-cut connection, what can they do to try to help you understand like where it fits in with your audience?
Sure. We look at as many products as we possibly can, a day, a week, a month, but there's maybe billions, possibly more out there, so we don't operate under the assumption that we can see every single product online. What we hope for is that people can be advocates for their brands and their products. They see the supply chain, they make these things, they know more about them than we do, and just kind of helping us understand what and how they fit into the stories that we're trying to present to our audience is the best way possible. Like, hey, tell me why you think this is a good fit for us. Tell us what makes you unique. What are the things that you provide that nobody else does? Those are interesting talking points for any potential features and also just helping us get educated about the product if we haven't seen it before.
Okay. So given that your first priority is to the readers, what would you say on the flip side? What's the value that commerce content is bringing to advertisers?
For us, the feedback, excuse me, the feedback we get a lot is, these are highly engaged, they're highly engaged consumers. They're not coming in through like sort of a distracted, disjointed experience. They're there, they're ready to consume content. So they're often new to file. They are full price sales, and they often have they're in kind of like this shopping mindset. So they often have higher cart values. And then really once we're off and we're sending them to a manufacturer or a retailer direct, there's just like a massive amount of opportunity now for that retailer to either, serve them, to retarget them, to, get an email capture. And so I think like, us providing these readers who are kind of already, like they're a little more patient, I would say, than someone who's just kind of consuming mobile content. And they generally are a little more open to those touch points.
I was just going to
Yeah.
go for it.
I think what the value that we provide to advertisers is our audience, right? We have a bunch of people, and what we want to do is connect them with the makers, I guess, for lack of a better word, that are actually building products that might add value to their lives. And what we want to do is make that connection because it helps us engage our readers. It helps our readers get something that they're going to use every day or hopefully for years. And again, that sort of system also just rewards producers who are making things that we feel like should be exposed to the world.
Mm-hmm. So I think we all know loud and clear at this point that you guys are great at driving product discovery and new to file customers. So as you guys are maturing this model and are going to be working with these advertisers a lot more frequently, what are you going to do to continue to draw in new users and continue to drive these valuable customers?
Yeah, so we have, again, just a massive audience and scale on CNN. So again, cross-platform, about 100 million uniques. We have 27 million or so Facebook followers. So we have massive reach across our web, app, and social platforms. So I think that is a way that we can access a very large audience. We also have the #1 largest millennial reach in news organizations. But I think there's other really interesting things that we could do once we get off the ground, like other social and messaging platforms like that the very young people are using, like Kick or Line. And I think that there's some interesting ways, or chatbots, that we can work together and try new things on those messaging platforms that no one is really doing yet in a commerce content manner.
Yeah, that's great. For us, we're, obviously we're playing off of mom and dad's website as well with the New York Times. So we're, trying to make strategic, decisions there with, articles and posts that they're, excuse me, that they're writing. Another thing that we're, trying out is just really like taking the content and moving it to where audiences are. So, we work with a lot of syndication partnerships. Yeah, that, they're, if a piece of content on the best computer is on our sites and its organic reach, it's limited as far as audience goes. But if we can distribute those through like our different syndication channels, get more eyeballs on it, those are really, really powerful opportunities.
That's exactly right. Publishers have a lot of ways to reach people: on-site, distributed, search. We get about 3 million uniques on our commerce content on Insider Picks. Business Insider reaches 80 million or more people. We have 3 billion video views a month on social platforms. So there's still a very, very high ceiling that we can get to. So if we reach 3 million people and we're happy with what we're seeing so far, like what does that look like at 6 million or 9 million or 12 million or even half of our audience? Like I think that's the kind of scale we're thinking about.
Okay. So you were mentioning all these social platforms, Bryce, and I think we all just know inherently a lot of your content is being consumed on mobile devices. I mean, how important is having cross-device data to you guys?
Yeah, it's something that's really important. So with CNN, historically have been a mainly desktop site, but in the last few years, as everyone has kind of seen, it's transferred to mobile. So cross-device for us is really important. There's also different shopping patterns where you might research on your phone when you're in bed, but then you'll actually go to your desktop to make a purchase. So cross-device for us is super important because it'll help follow the user journey. And if they research on web, but then end up buying on, or mobile web and end up buying on desktop, that's something that's important for us to capture.
I think it's going to be really interesting for the industry. I mean, the reason we're all in this space is because it's a more sophisticated digital version of what magazine advertising or television commercials used to be, except that you can actually see when people buy things, which you couldn't before, right? You could never click on a magazine. And the last click attribution model, which I think is still fairly standard, is really helpful, but we're in this because of the information, and I think getting a clearer picture of customer journeys is going to be beneficial not only to us as publishers who may have driven a product discovery on mobile and then the person goes to just their desktop computer and looks for the product. I think it's just going to give everybody like a lot more clear picture of how these transaction processes work so we can all get smarter.
Okay. So let's segue for a moment here. I do want to just chat about the 800-pound gorilla, Amazon. So we know that they have a very big presence just in general, but on all of your sites. And I know, because I spoke directly to advertisers, about how much they really, really want to work with you. And it can be challenging for them to get your attention, and use their affiliate links, and kind of gain that share of voice. So can you guys talk about that a little bit? And what would be your advice to any of these advertisers who want to compete for that share of voice against them?
Should I take this one?
Sure. Go for it.
I'll go first. So, Amazon is the largest retailer in the US. They have a very relentless focus on their customer, which we feel aligns with our focus on our audience. Like if they're making a great experience for people, that's something that can't be ignored. But we also feel like our audience are intelligent, discerning shoppers. They're not just blindly going to Amazon because they have an Amazon account. So what I would say is we don't certainly try to favor them over any other partnership. We just want to make sure that our reader is having the best experience. So quick loading websites, great customer service, really healthy value propositions for our audience is the easiest way to work with us because we're looking for having an actively diverse portfolio of partnerships. And so just make it easy for us to have that.
Sounds simple.
Yeah, I think we're the same way. I mean, we really are, you know, we want our readers to have the best experience, obviously. You know, like us specifically, they're there because they're doing research. You know, they're a shopper who has done a lot of research on a particular product. They're ready to now buy that computer or that set of headphones. They want to know what the best one is. And so like that kind of research and that mentality doesn't just stop at the merchant or at the product level. It does extend to that merchant. So, you know, I love Amazon, I'm sorry. But I mean, it's ease, it's part of that. So like, it's really kind of making sure that you're creating some of those, competing at least a little bit in some of those kind of areas where convenience and things like that, shipping, if you have that ability.
And I know that you mentioned, and I think this is important to just bear in mind, like sending somebody off to an experience that's less than ideal is a reflection upon you and your brand, right? Mm-hmm. Like, weren't you saying, Breton, that you guys have received complaints before when somebody had a negative experience?
No, that's why we take this so seriously, because we absolutely believe that readers who take our recommendations, you know, view us as part of that retail transaction process, right? We aren't just, I mean, we are kind of like a middleman, but, you know, they had the connection with us first. So, you know, we've certainly had readers write in saying like, oh, thank you so much for the recommendation, that was great, but they've also come to us with customer service complaints. And, you know, I take that very seriously, because if one of our readers has a bad experience, it's a very poor reflection on our ability to make the recommendations that are going to help them.
So Amazon is a seamless experience. We all love shopping with them. But do you guys actually have any pain points in working with Amazon? Like, are there any gaps that, you know, affiliate could actually fill in directly?
Their data sucks. Quite honestly, and that's intentional. I mean, they really kind of keep you at arm's length as a publisher with how much they're kind of surfacing. So that's definitely a huge advantage to you know, working direct with a lot of partners, you know, in the affiliate space. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really, really big, which means that companies who are smaller can be more nimble, can be more easy to work with. I think that's the real advantage. Like, if you don't have the scale of Amazon, and very few companies do, if any, you can just get around that by being faster, quicker, more flexible.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with the data point. It's something that we've struggled with, and especially as we're aggregating data across platforms, it's very hard to get any information out of it.
So it sounds like if any of you guys want to offer up some deeper level data and have a great customer experience, then that's definitely going to be more favorable for you guys.
Totally.
Okay. Well, I know we're getting pretty close, so thank you guys again. I do want to close this out with just a couple of takeaways for all of you. So, in working with these types of publishers, you really need to be customer-centric, as we just heard. You know, you want to take a look into your business and see where you might have control over areas where you can surprise and delight your customers. Be responsive. We actually didn't get a chance to talk about this, but you'd be surprised how many times we've heard from our publishers, I really got excited about this product, my editor was ready to review it, and then I just didn't get a call back. So if somebody's hitting you up, you should reply. Know the publisher's audience. You can't just push them a program term and say, just put up an affiliate link. You actually want to do your research, go deep, have a conversation, understand both sides. And last but not least, review all of your digital KPIs. We understand that some of the requirements that they have to work with them might be a little bit outside of what you're accustomed to. But take a look at where you have efficiencies in your business, see where you might be able to make some additional investments, and test out with some non-traditional publishers to support your affiliate program goals. So that concludes this panel. I don't think we're actually going to have enough time for questions, but if you could all just go into your app, you can take a survey, let us know how you felt about us. And you can also submit a question. So what we're going to do is, after the conference is over, we're going to take a look at all of your questions and we will get back to you. We'll also be outside as well if you'd like to come find us and ask us in person. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you guys for joining us today.